today, all right, today, I love to, this is the thing. I want to talk about superheroes and trauma. Superheroes and trauma, okay? It's something that I've been seeing, and it's been a reoccurring thing since I've been on my spiritual journey, where it's a lot of us who have the mindset, know to some degree, that we are superheroes or we are people who have this advanced level of ability, spiritual powers, divinity, this energy that's within us that can make us do miraculous things, clairvoyance, clairsentient, clairaudient, all the clairs, whatever. We all have this like power that's within us, and I've always paid attention when I used to listen to a lot of people in the spiritual community. They always say, "Tap in, family." Get the knowledge, get the wisdom, and tap in, family. Tap in, family. And I'm like, what the fuck we tapping into? What I realize is that I feel like a lot of people don't really know what that means. It sounds like an obvious statement, but through my work and what I've done, especially a lot of healing work that I've done, I realized that tapping in piece is the piece that we don't like to tap into because it deals a lot with our darkness. It deals a lot with the shadows. It deals a lot with facing our past and things that we have not let go of. And I've also noticed through working through a lot of clients, working, helping a lot of clients, especially with energy healing. Every time I have a session with someone, and maybe a few days later, they'll tell me like, "Oh, Josh, like I feel more open. I feel more intuitive. My ancestors are talking back to me again. I haven't talked to my ancestors in so long. It's something that you remove that make me like," they're just telling me all these things. And I'm like, well, damn, something I'm seeing that's consistent is that we have all these emotional baggage and blocks that are within ourselves that are preventing us to have access to our spiritual gifts, right? And so I really want to hone in on that because it's a lot of us who have these spiritual gifts, but we are not doing the healing work. And so these spiritual gifts are just basically dormant. And I'm going to just say this too, before we get deeper into the video. There are people who do have access to their spiritual gifts and are utilizing them right now, but they still have that thorn. They still have that pain. They still have that unresolved issue still stored inside of their bodies that's limiting their power, limiting their potential to be even more impactful, right? So, like I said, the name of this video is called Trauma or Superheroes and Trauma. And right now, I do have a book that I'm going to be reading to you guys that goes more deeper into trauma. So you guys can have more of an idea what trauma is. And maybe it can dispel some misconceptions about what you think trauma is. So I'm going to read some of the pages out of the book that I highlighted that I think is very important that I want to share with you guys. And we're just going to kind of get into it, right? We're going to get into this whole video. And I want to kind of create a correlation. I hope you guys can see this correlation between superhero movies and trauma, right? So let's get it started, right? What I realized, and you guys probably realize this too, every time you watch a superhero movie, they always place the attention on the nemesis, the adversary, the opponent, the enemy, right? There's always this Batman versus Joker, or Deadpool versus the people who killed his wife, or Batman versus the people who killed his family. Or last night I was watching Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is, of course, he's basically trying to protect a little girl from Wanda. But there's a certain part in the movie that I thought that was so fucking interesting. And like I said, if you pay attention to superhero movies, if you pay close attention, you'll notice that the superhero true nemesis is their past trauma and their past pain. All the superhero movies that we always watch, all the superheroes are traumatized. All the superheroes have not done no healing work. They doing all the flying and the hyper speed and the powerful punches and the laser beams and the visibility and all these things, but they have not done no fucking healing work. You notice that. Don't tell me, drop a comment below and let me know you notice. Please please let me know that you noticed that. I know I'm not the only one. If you pay attention to the superhero movies, they always point their attention outside of themselves as that being the enemy. What I've noticed, because superhero movies is a part of a type of mythology. It has a certain story, and we can resonate, we could connect to that story because it may connect with something inside of ourselves. Some people resonate with Superman's story. Some people resonate with Captain America's story. Some people resonate with the Hulk. Some people resonate with Doctor Strange, etc., etc. These are different forms of mythology. And so what I'm noticing throughout the Black community, yeah, I'm talking about y'all. What I've noticed is that it seems like we adopted the superheroes mythology. A lot of us want to do all the spiritual shit, we want to exert our spiritual gifts. We want to be out there in the world and exert ourselves and show people who we are and be so expressive and all these different type of things. But we don't do the healing work. That's the same thing with these superhero movies. A lot of them are extremely powerful, but none of them do the healing work. You never, I want to say, and it might be, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, there might have been a time where, what his name? Bruce Banner, right? He probably, I'm sorry, not Bruce Banner, Bruce Wayne, right? Batman. I think it might have been a movie where he went to he had therapy, right? He went to psychiatrist, a psychologist, right? And he probably got a therapy session. I don't recall, but I think I want to say I remember him laying on a sofa and he's talking to a therapist about his problems. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not really a Batman person like that, but I want to say that might have happened. But I don't know too many other heroes that do that shit. I think I might have saw Deadpool doing it one time, but Deadpool is so comical, like I wouldn't have taken it serious. But other than that, you don't see it played out. And so what this does to us subconsciously, which we don't even realize, is that yes, a lot of us like these superhero movies and they're telling a tale and we're adopting the tale, and subconsciously we're seeing that, oh, yo, I want to have the highest intuition possible. I want to talk to spirits. I want to be able to move things with my hands like telekinesis. I want to do all these things. And that gets us excited, and it also activates the ego. And so then ego gets involved, and now the ego's like, yeah, let's just try to like activate that and completely ignore the emotions, the trauma, the unresolved issues. Because understand this, the ego is your protective mechanism. It is an entity that's trying to protect you from not feeling it's trying to protect you from not feeling discomfort. So it's not going to give you the thought of, yo, you need to go do some healing work. It's going to give you the thought of, yo, we need to go take that workshop so we can activate our third eye. You know what I'm saying? So watching these superhero movies over and over and over, I'm like, yo, ain't none of these motherfuckers doing no healing work. And so, like I said, throughout the spiritual community, the conscious community, shadows, right? I said it's the years of shadow. Shadows are always presented in the spiritual and conscious community. There are people who we call our elders, our leaders, whatever you want to call them. They have a point in play where they are doing things for the people. They are doing whatever they got to do to support the people. But then some way, somehow, a shadow comes into the mix and they sabotage all their work. They sabotage all their life work. They sabotage everything that they did and everything that they try to build because they have not done no healing work. This is fucking big, because it doesn't matter how big you get in the spiritual conscious community or in the world or whatever you want to do. But if you have not dealt with your shadow will eventually come around and it will rear its ugly head and it will sabotage everything that you built. Right? So let's go back to the superhero story. Who really is the true opponent, the true nemesis? Is it the Joker or is it the shadow of Batman? Right? Is it Deadpool? Because Deadpool is just for people who love Deadpool. The reason why Deadpool's wife got killed was because he was doing all that, bang bang, shoot him up. I'm Deadpool. I'm invincible. Some criminals followed him back to his house and killed his wife. So he can blame the guys who killed his wife, or he can look at himself and be like, you know what I thought was going to happen. I'm out here killing criminals all goddamn day. Eventually, one of them is going to get smart enough to follow me home. One of them is gonna eventually try to figure me out and try to take me out when I'm chilling, when I'm at my house and I got my guard down. He brought that smoke to his house. He brought that level of all those problems. Like I said, a shadow, his aspect of him, which is a shadow, followed him to his house, which was the criminals. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm sorry, not the criminals, which was his past of what he does, was attract the criminals, bought them to his house, and they killed his wife. And so now he's on this whole, I gotta kill whoever, whatever, right? And so I really want you guys to understand in this whole grand scheme of what I'm talking about is that your true nemesis is your emotional state and your emotional problems and your trauma. So I'm going to be going through this book that I'm about to read shortly with you guys so you can have an understanding of who your true nemesis is and how you can potentially heal your nemesis, how you can potentially become one with your nemesis, understanding the simplicity of your opponent, of your enemy, which is all inside of you. There's nothing outside of you. Everything that you experience outside of you is a part of you. So every goddamn thing that you say, I hate this, I don't like this, I don't like that, or whatever, is inside of you. So if you want to remove this enemy or whatever you want to call it, you got to remove it inside of yourself. So let's go a little bit deeper in terms of emotions. Let's shift out of the superhero story. Let's go a little bit deeper into emotions. Understand one motherfucking thing, if not all motherfucking things, about emotions. You are not a storage container. You are not a cup, physical cup or glass. You're not something that is to be held on to. You're not a storage unit. So when emotions come in your body, you're not meant to store them. That's meant to be released and transmuted. So unconsciously what happens, and it's also due to the nature of our bodies, because this is an animalistic body, so naturally your body's going to store energy or store trauma or store emotions because it is an animalistic part of us. Outside of that, we also have the mindset, we have consciousness, right? We have rationality. And due to rationality, we also are able to store emotions in our body based off our programming that states that you're not supposed to express your emotions. You're supposed to just feel it, or you're supposed to just get over it, get through it, and move on. By us constantly living with that narrative, we're keeping the emotions stored in our body. And just imagine something that's stored in your body for years and years and years. It starts to tarnish. It starts to become more and more decayed. It starts to become more and more, mildew, and it starts to just saturate, and then eventually looks rotten and molded. That's what these emotions are doing inside of our bodies. But with that whole analogy, instead of it being something that's molded and rotten, that emotion becomes a sensation, and eventually it becomes an emotion, and then eventually it becomes a physical pain, or something that you experience that you don't even know where it came from. You having, say, shoulder pains, or you having certain stomach issues, or you having constant migraines, and it's due to your unresolved emotions, your unresolved trauma. Trauma conventionally become a form, something that becomes solid when you don't allow it to get released throughout the body. It eventually becomes a physical matter is what I'm getting at. Everything starts on an energetic level, and then it becomes a physical thing. So if you have emotions stored in your body and it just sitting and fermenting, it eventually becomes stored as a physical solidified object, a solidified pain that you can feel in your body. And then you go to the questioning, like, I'm completely healthy. I don't know what's going on. Why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling that? It's that emotions that you have not dealt with. So once again, who is the true enemy? Who is the one that's really creating all the havoc and all the destruction in your life? Is it the guy at your job? Is it your girlfriend or your boyfriend? Is it the guy up the street that you don't like? Is it the president? Because the president election is coming up. Is it, is it is it the freaking the fucking government? Like, who is really causing all the pain and suffering in your life? Ask yourself that question. Please ask yourself that question. Who's really doing it? Is it something outside of you, or is it you? Is it your emotional state? Right? So understand that you are not a storage container. You're not meant to store emotions. You're meant to feel emotions, allow it to process, and allow it to completely dissolve. When you look at children, children do not store emotions. When children get mad about something, or they're upset about something, or they want something and they don't get it, they cry in the moment, they get upset in the moment, they get angry in the moment, they feel the whole entire experience in the moment, and then the next 5 minutes they back happy again. They don't carry the emotion for the whole day and for the remainder of the week into the following week, into the next month, thinking like how this one person cut me off in traffic, I wish they'll do it again. They don't carry emotions like that. That is our natural nature. We are born children first, then we become an adult. Then we become an adult. I had to place air quotes on that because there's no such thing as an adult. You're still a child. You're just a elongated version of a child. But for the sake of the video, we're going to call ourselves an adult and say that you become an adult, and then this is where you start to get into the space of, I don't feel emotions. I don't process my emotions. I just rather store it. Yeah, let me become a hoarder. I'm an emotional hoarder. Let me just hold in these emotions and never let it go. I just want to hold on to it very tight. It's my best friend. Meanwhile, the shit eating you up inside, right? So understand that, right? Emotions are meant to pass. Emotions are like travelers. They're just passing through. Whenever you feel an emotion, detach from it. Don't become it. Detach from it. If you detach from it, it naturally passes through the body. Think about, and before I get into this book, this last point I want to make, think about positivity. Think about happiness. Think about joy. Think about love. Think about you having an orgasm. When you having this experience, it comes in the body and you're happy. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Blah, 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 blah. Majority of the time, you don't even hold the energy. You don't stay happy throughout the whole entire week. You stay happy for that one moment in time. You allow the energy to come in your body. You feel all the happiness. And then it completely dissolves by you allowing it to process throughout your body, and then it goes away. What we do with negativity is it comes in our body and we're like, oh shit, I don't want to feel it. We close up, we don't allow it to process, and what happens? It stays in the body. So we are so tricked to believe that if we don't try to feel it, that we actually get rid of it. We push it away. Actually, you're doing the opposite. If you don't try to feel it, it does this. Actually, oh shit, you don't want to feel me? All right, I'm about to come in more. I'm about to hug you. You gotta allow it to just completely process. No one pushes away happiness. You don't push away happiness. So don't push away negativity or sadness or depression. Don't push it away. Keep it where it's at and allow it to process. These emotions, these sensations have a form of intelligence. So our mental intelligence is going against its own natural intelligence. So we think that if we don't feel it, we're not going to feel it, but actually do the opposite. You actually feel it and you actually store it versus just being like, hey, I'm just feeling an emotion right now. I'm just feeling sad right now. I'm just feeling angry right now. Granted, there's different things you can do to control the emotions, of course, because you don't want to sabotage relationships and all that type of stuff. I get that. But in terms of just feeling emotion, just to feel emotion, because this is an emotional ass world that we live in. We live in a water world. This is a water-based world. Everything's dealt off with feelings and emotions. When you wake up in the morning, the first thought, if you have a thought, if not a thought, you have an emotion. The first thing you feel is your emotion. You may feel tired. You may feel groggy. You may feel a little bit sad. You may feel something. It's always associated with a thought, but I've noticed when I wake up in the motherfucking morning, I feel more emotion than a thought because my mind haven't fully activated yet. I feel my emotions first. So there's an emotional ass place we live in called Earth, this dimension. So boom, let me get that away. So let's get into this book, though. So just for people who want to go dive a little bit deep and do their own self-work, the name of this book is called Healing the Tiger. You see that? Walking the Tiger, Healing Trauma by Peter A. Levine, or what have you. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a few pages, and I want you guys to keep this in perspective. Keep this in perspective. I'm reading this stuff to you guys to understand more about trauma. Whenever time I hear someone mention the word trauma, or every time someone talks about trauma, I feel like the whole world is like, oh shit, he talking about trauma. It's like we are scared to even say the word. We are scared to even understand what trauma is. Once again, just think about this shit. Who is your true enemy? We can't even talk about trauma without people cringing up because they've been so traumatized. It's deep. This is some real deep shit. People are not living their lives because they have so much trauma stored in them. So first, the first page I'm gonna read to you guys is a little bit, I'm gonna be reading. It is the definition, okay? And kind of give you guys a bit more understanding, but it's gonna give you like a general definition. So it says, the official definition, the official definition that psychologists and oh shit. Of course I mess up when I'm reading. Hold up. The official definition that psychologists and psychiatrists, there we go, use to diagnose trauma is that it is caused by a stressful occurrence that is outside the range of unusual human experience, and that would be markedly distressing to almost anyone. Okay, this definition encompasses the following unusual experiences: open quotes, serious threat to one's life or physical integrity, serious threat or harm to one's children, spouse, or other close relatives or friends, sudden destruction of one's home or community, seeing other people who is or has recently been seriously injured or killed as a result of an accident or physical violence. Okay, so that's kind of the nutshell what most people look at trauma as, right? But then he further explains this description is somewhat useful as a starting point, but is also vague and misleading. Okay? Who can say what is outside the range of unusual human experience or markedly distressing to almost anyone? The events mentioned in the definition are helpful qualifiers, but there are many other potentially traumatizing events that fall into the gray area. Accidents, falls, illnesses, and surgeries that the body unconsciously perceives as threatening are often not consciously regarded as outside range of unusual human experience. However, they are often traumatizing. In addition, rape, drive-by shootings, and other tragedies occur frequently in many communities. Though they may be considered inside the range of usual experience, rapes and shootings will always be traumatic. The healing of trauma depends upon the recognition of its symptoms. Because traumatic symptoms are largely the result of primitive responses, they are often difficult to recognize. People don't need a definition of trauma. We need an experiential sense of how it feels. Trauma is an inner journey. Trauma is not so much mental. It's more of a feeling game, okay? So we're going to go to another page that I think is helpful. Where is it? Just give me a second here. Okay, that was my little elevator story, elevator song. So, all right, this is another piece that I thought was important that I want to highlight. Psychology traditionally approaches trauma through its effect of the mind. This is best only half the story and is an inadequate one. Without the body and the mind assessed together as a unit, we will not be able to deeply understand or heal trauma. Let's pause right there. I am not against people who go to therapy. Talk therapy is a step. It is a step from doing no work at all. But I want people to understand who do go to therapy, if that therapist is not working with your emotional body, if they're not doing some type of somatic type of work, anything that gets you involved into releasing the emotions out the body, then they're doing you an injustice. They're not doing you no justice at all. You have to get in the body. It's not enough to try to figure out what happened with you when you was 5 years old. It's not enough to figure out what happened with you when you was in that relationship with that person. That gets to the memory of it. It may invoke a certain emotion, but you have to release the emotion. It's not about just stirring it up, right? It's like me cooking some gumbo and I'm just stirring the pot and I never serve it to you. They just stirring up your emotions and they never allow it to be released. You still have to release it, okay? So that's important. All right. Okay, this is important too. This is big. It's all about energy. Traumatic symptoms are not caused by the triggering event itself. What you say? Can I repeat that? I'm like, sure, why not? Traumatic symptoms are not caused by the triggering event itself. So let me stop right there because I want to express this to everybody in the spiritual and the conscious community who's always blaming their lover, their friend, their cousin, their mom, their dad, always saying, well, this person triggered me, so I'm going to protect my peace and leave and remove myself. I'm going to set a boundary and remove myself because I'm not about to continuously get triggered by somebody. You heard what I just read. It's not the event itself that is triggering you. You have the actual trigger, the time bomb, the energy, the trauma, the unresolved emotion that's inside of you and is getting activated by something that's outside of you. And that thing that's outside of you, you should actually give it some love and give it some gratitude because it's revealing to you a part of yourself that you have not worked through and you have not healed. So if someone trigger you, you shouldn't be like, oh, fuck that. I don't fuck with you because you keep triggering me. You should start thanking that person because triggers are opportunities for you to heal. So every time you feel triggered, don't sit up there and say, I'm never coming here again. You could say that because you may not be able to deal with the triggers, but also be honest with yourself, be real with yourself and ask yourself, why do I keep getting triggered by this particular person, place, or thing? Because you have not healed it. Because it's still stored in your body, because you have not completely resolved the issue. It's still inside of you. So whatever's outside of you is just like a helper. It's just an assistance. It's a helping hand to help you with your unresolved emotions. It's an indicator. It's a signal. It's a distress signal that's trying to get your attention and say, hey, how you doing? How are you? I have not been healed yet. Just pointing that out. So, granted, do whatever you got to do to protect yourself. I'm not saying don't protect yourself, but a lot of people are carrying this notion that when something triggers them, they're going to completely remove themselves for that particular person, place, or thing. What you fail to realize that subconsciously, it doesn't matter if you remove yourself from that person, place, or thing. It subconsciously is in your mind. So you're going to keep attracting it over and over and over and over. It creates a loop. Okay, and I specialize in helping people break that traumatic loop. FYI, that's something I do in my coaching services. Okay, so boom, got that out the way. Okay, so let's just bring it back because I'm getting hot right now. Okay, okay, let's go. Traumatic symptoms are not caused by the triggering event itself. They stem from the frozen residue of energy that has not been resolved and discharged. This residue remains trapped in the nervous system where it can wreak havoc on our bodies and spirit. The long-term, alarming, debilitating, and often bizarre symptoms of PTSD develop when we cannot complete the process of moving in moving in, through and out of the immobility or freezing state. What are you talking about? What is he talking about? Keep it very simple, right? Your nemesis, the energy that's stored inside of you, is a frozen energy. It's stuck. It's a block. Everything in existence, like I said, is in a constant ebb and flow. Nothing is stagnant, and nothing in existence is stagnant. Nothing stays the same. What humans do is when we experience emotions, we have something called rationality. So when we experience an emotion, we're trying to rationalize it, so much so that we don't allow it to process and it gets stored in the body. But when he says, let me just repeat it. The long-term, alarming, debilitating, and often bizarre symptoms of PTSD develop when we cannot complete the process of moving in, through, and out of the immobility freezing state. If you pay attention to this. This is a nugget. When you have an experience, something that you deem uncomfortable, pay attention to your breath. If you are having inconsistencies in your breathing pattern, when you having something that's outside of yourself that you deem that's a threat to you, that is an indicator that you have a trauma stored inside of you. So every time you feel like which most people do, if you ever pay attention, let me go back some. I just told you guys I had a car wreck last week. I got T-boned, right? Let me put this book down right quick so I can explain this. I got T-boned, right? So for people who don't know what T-bone mean is, I was driving, a car came out of nowhere, boom, made a T. Hit my passenger door, my joint went just like that. Made it even more traumatic is all I remember is turning to the right and I saw a fucking hood, a front bumper this close to my face. So you know what I did? I said, oh, slow motion, right? This is really what happens. People don't even know this shit, right? Slow motion. I went, oh, shit. Boom, right? In that moment, it's out of my control. My body naturally froze up. Naturally. It's a natural trauma response. You got 4 different types of trauma responses, right? You got fight or flight, which is most people know about. Then you have freeze or collapse. And you have the fawn or the people pleasing, right? That's another type of trauma response, right? Most people know the fight or flight. The freezing state, a lot of people are not aware of because it happens naturally. It's not something that you can actually do. The fight or fight, fighting someone or fleeing from a scene, you can actually control that. That is more rationality. Naturally, involuntarily, we respond from the freeze state because we are naturally animals. What this book goes into depth about is explaining how animals are able to shake off trauma or frozen energy out their bodies by not having rationality. This using their basic instincts and allowing this body, this intelligence, to respond to something that's a threat or overwhelming. So in other words, what they discovered is that when you look, okay, let me paint a scenario. When the cheetah is trying to eat an impala or eat a gazelle, the gazelle is running for his life, right? The gazelle is running very fast. The impala is running very fast. The cheetah is trying to catch the impala, right? It's trying to catch it. It's going to get to the point where the cheetah eventually catches up and captures the impala. But what we don't see is the impala, due to overwhelming sensation, it actually collapses. And it plays dead. So if you're watching like a Discovery Channel or whatever like that, you're seeing that the cheetah is taking the animal, taking the impala back to its lair, is taking it back to its den where it can eat it. But the impala is not dead. It's playing dead. It collapsed itself as a form of protection mechanism, a form of trauma response. Now, in this whole trauma response stage, when you're in a freeze state, this is actually a protection mechanism, because while that lion or tiger or whatever is taking that gazelle back to his place, the gazelle or the impala cannot feel any pain. It is completely protected. Some way, somehow, our instinctual bodies create this type of hypercharged energy that keep us protected from overwhelming threat. So while this impala is basically frozen, playing dead, it completely goes to the lair. Soon as the lion or whatever it is walks off and go about his business, it hurry up and gets up, and it flees the scene, and it shakes the energy out. It removes the energy. It doesn't store it. It shakes it out, and then it never becomes traumatized. So in this book, they're going deep into it, making you understand that why are animals not getting as traumatized as human beings? So it's very deep. And so I want to say something else. So when I got into that car wreck, by the graces of God, all I had was a cut on my finger, and I was shooken up real bad. My body was like complete shock. I went into complete shock. My body was shaking. Now, I've been down this journey for a while, so I know how to transmute emotions and I know how to allow emotions just to pass where it doesn't affect me. So I knew my body was traumatized. So what happens is you never get the full experience in the moment. You don't start get some people, it depends on how hard how hard the hit is. But you don't really get the full, like, oh my God, my neck, my shoulder. You don't really get that till like maybe a day later or maybe an hour or two later or what have you. It depends on how bad the situation is. But you are in that place of a trauma response. So you're not even feeling no emotions. You're not feeling nothing. You're so numb. That's a protection. You don't even know what's happening to you. You probably got shot and you don't even know you got shot because your body's traumatized. So it takes in enough of that energy to get you to safety. Then when you realize you got shot, you come back to reality like, oh shit, I got shot. But you wouldn't know that because your body just got traumatized. So that's a form of protection mechanism that the body carries. But also what happens with that is that being that you in that freeze state, what happens, like it just said in the book, that freezed energy, that residue is still stored in the body. So when you're having a conversation with someone, or if you bring up very painful or uncomfortable thoughts, that freeze energy is influencing your breathing pattern. And so that lets you know right then and there, that's an indicator, let you know that you have trauma stored in your body. So what he is simply saying is that you can keep it real simple. Trauma is just a highly charged emotional energy stored in the body that has not been discharged. There's a highly, highly, highly overly emotional stored up energy that is extremely charged up, and it's just sitting in the body. And it has a residue in it. It has a frequency in it, and this frequency is a freeze state, which is the trauma response. Okay, so that's important. So when he says PTSD develop when we cannot complete the process, like I said, it's stored in the body. The work is already done. It's your job to process it so you can let it go. It's your job to go back to that version of yourself, or it's your job to seek out some type of emotional support, a therapist, energy worker, Joshua Tree, me personally, because like I said, I'm definitely here to support people who need this type of work. So that's why I'm going so hard on this. Reach out to someone that you feel comfortable with who can support you in this, because this is what I see is like across the board. Everybody's truly afraid of, but no one wants to admit it. All right. And let's move forward from that. Okay. And this will be my last piece right here. The thing about trauma, right? Because like I said, I experienced it too, right? I just had experience from a car wreck. That was a trauma. I had experience from a relationship where I got my heart broken, and that's actually what started my journey. So let's talk about this. It says trauma is a fact of life, meaning everybody got it, right? It does not, however, have to be a life sentence. Not only can trauma be healed, but with appropriate guidance and support, it can be transformative. Trauma has the potential to be one of the most significant forces for psychological, social, and spiritual awakening and evolution. How we handle trauma as individuals, community, and societies greatly influence the quality of our lives. It ultimately affects how or even whether we survive as species. Now, this is important. It says, again, trauma has the potential to be one of the most significant forces for psychological, social, and spiritual awakening evolution. What we talking about? Everybody that you probably see that is across this whole nation, people who have influenced you, these big, speakers, influential people, anyone that you can think of that's doing something for the world, for the community, they experienced some type of trauma, and that trauma activated. It made an initiation. They went through initiation that activated them to want to help people, want to become a hero. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. The trauma activated something in them to make them start their hero journey to not only help others, but they have evolved due to that trauma. So you could devolve or you could evolve. Some people take the de-evolve route, where they don't evolve because they don't want to heal the trauma. So they become mediocre, right? They become average. We got people that say, you know what? I don't want to experience this no more. I need to figure this out. And they go through an inner transformative journey to figure out how to heal themselves. And throughout that whole process, they become a hero in other people's eyes. They become Jesus' savior in other people's eyes. Because now they know how to heal themselves. So now they can teach other people how to heal themselves. So when I go through the transformation, I can help other people go through the transformation. So this is a reframing of trauma. It's just not this dark, emotion that we can't figure out and it's so complex, and it just creates all this anxiety and pain. Like, that's a part of it. But if you get deep into what trauma really is and you look at it as a catalyst for your evolution, it changes the game. Me personally, that's how I would be talking to y'all right now if it wasn't due to my trauma that I experienced in my relationship that I was in almost 8 years ago. I suffered from a heartbreak. I had suicidal ideation. I was extremely depressed. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. I cried every day. I was also in this whole spiritual activation stage. So I was seeing spirits. I was seeing demons. I was having voices in my head, shit that I knew wasn't my voice, telling me to stab myself. I had entities attached on me and shit. I am very aware of all that. I went through a lot of that. And so I'm there to support people who also going through those things. Some people call it the dark night of the soul. 100% that was my dark night of the soul. And I say that to say is that right now, if you are listening to this video and it resonates, please take it upon yourself to do the healing work, because it doesn't take long. It takes time, but it doesn't take long. And that's the difference. Because like it just stated, trauma is not a life sentence. What makes it a life sentence is our inability or our lack of courage to stay consistent to healing the trauma. Now, this is just a side note. I developed a system in my coaching program that makes it more linear, where we can go to each and every age where you experience a type of trauma and release it. Now, I know everyone says that healing is not linear. Well, guess what? I'll be the first one to say that it is. So it doesn't have to be a long journey. It doesn't have to be that. It shouldn't be like, pay attention to how you're healing yourself. You could be doing it in a passive way, or you could be doing it in a very proactive and assertive way. You can just heal yourself today And then 2 years down the line, you could say, oh, I went with a friend and we decided to go do a breathwork session, and I just went with them and I had the biggest transformation. What happened between the 2-year gap? There was no inner work done. What happened to the healing work in between the 2-year gap? So that's what creates the long ass journey of healing. I did not come on this planet to be healing for the rest of my life. I don't believe in that. Everyone says that this journey is, I don't believe in that. That shit don't make no sense to me. Because when we were children, we didn't have all these emotions. We didn't have all this trauma when we were children. We got them when we were children, but when we came out that womb, and depending on your upbringing, when we came out that womb, we didn't have all this shit that we got to constantly work through. So you can't tell me that we're going to be living our whole life dealing with trauma. That don't make no sense. So what we can say is we just don't know how to attack it. We don't know how to embrace it. We don't know how to support it. We don't know how to go in at it and know how to release these things outside of our bodies. We could say that, but I'm not going to sit up and say that I'm going to be healing myself forever. I will say that there's moments where you're going to constantly be triggered by stuff, and that gets into more of a detachment practice. Because sometimes it may not even be a trauma that's stored inside of you. It is maybe something that you don't fucking like as a human being. If you don't like when someone smacks when they eat food, you gonna call that a trauma? You're irritated because someone's smacking when they eat food? Yeah, bro. I like this cereal, bro. That be good, bro. You gonna get you telling me that that's a trauma? That is not a trauma. You're just irritated. You could say you're triggered from it, because there are such things as emotional wounds. That's something that bothers you, but it's not a trauma. So we can sit up and say, oh yeah, we're still doing the healing work regardless. My biggest focus is on taking care of the big blocks, not the small ones. Because the big blocks are 9 times out of 10, and let's go with the whole 10, is connected to the small ones. So when you get to the root of your problem and not just cutting off the branches off the tree, then you can completely let go and completely uproot everything that's inside of you. It's all dealing with the root. It's not dealing with the branches. So I wanted to share that with you guys, is that when you think about trauma, start to reframe it differently. You do not have to go through this process alone, and you do not have to go through it through a long extended process, a long extended time throughout your whole entire life. How are you responding to your emotional work? Are you waiting for another workshop to come up? Are you waiting for another retreat? Are you waiting for someone like me to share this knowledge to you, to activate you and uplift you and inspire you? Or are you taking the active work to try to figure your shit out, to deal with it? I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's comfortable. But what I'm saying is it's a necessity. And what I'm saying is that it's time for Black people specifically to create the shift and let go of all the shit that we're holding on to. We are still holding on to slavery. We're still holding on to what white people did to us. That's called an injustice wound. We suffer from injustice. Yes, we suffer from that as a people, but we still have to heal from that. Yes, we was mistreated as slaves. We were mistreated in 400 years ago. We were all slaves. Yes, I get it. You still got to heal from it. The damage is already done. So if us to continue the narrative, well, they done this and they done that, that's not healing work. That's you complaining about a trigger or trauma or emotion that's still stored in your body, that's creating havoc in your body, that's creating cancer, that's creating migraines, headaches, heart disease. You think about it. Anything that the doctors say, I don't know how this got in your body, it's probably came from some type of trauma. So I'm going to let y'all go. One more thing I want to share is that, to go back to the superhero, right? Understand that when you embrace your inner work, that is you becoming a hero. That is the true hero's journey. Everything just kind of falls in line when you do that. Because now you have emotional resilience. So if you have a purpose in life, something you want to do in life, you would never achieve it if you have all these emotional baggages, blocks that's preventing you from achieving it. A lot of us struggle with being seen. I was one of them. We struggle with putting out our content. We struggle with putting out what we deem is something that we want to support people with. We struggle with that because we don't want to be seen. But guess what? That comes from a place of your childhood trauma, childhood wounds, something that you experienced when you was a child. You still have to do the healing work to some degree. Or you could ignore it. That's cool too. Just fight through it. Just push through it. That's what most people do anyway. But I'm encouraging you to address it so you can just walk through your journey with ease versus this constant like, oh shit, I feel tight. I gotta get on stage, 10,000 people. I just feel like my body's cringing up. I'm about to just break down. You ain't gotta do all that. Just address the emotion, address the unresolved issue in your body. So understanding, right, to bring it all together. Superheroes and trauma. Please, please, please go watch one of your favorite superhero movies and pay attention to that superhero that you love so much. They have a trauma and they will never address it. This shit is so funny to me when I watch superhero movies because they make it look like I gotta do this and I gotta do that and da da da. My favorite superhero was Blade, by the way. I resonate with Blade. Blade, okay, for people who don't have not watched Blade, Blade suffered from an abandonment wound because he had to depart from his mom when he was a baby. So he has an abandonment wound. And he also has a loss wound because he lost his mama when he was born. So Blade became one of the baddest motherfucking people, obviously in the super era, the superhero era. But he still has a goddamn wound. He still didn't heal that part of himself, but he came Billy, you're badass. You know what I'm saying? Can someone please, and I matter of fact, I'm not even gonna do that because I'm gonna share it right here. But the reason why I mentioned Blade's story is because if you pay attention to every superhero, they always have a emotional package, a trauma package that's tied to their heroic story, but they never address the freaking emotional package and unpack it. This is always just talk about it in passing, but they never tell you if they actually healed it. So I was watching Doctor Strange last night, actually, the latest one, the multiverse, and there was a part where he had met with the other Doctor Strange, and the other Doctor Strange, of course, who has a third eye. He was like the guy with the third eye, the other Doctor Strange. He was like, yeah, I came to this reality hoping that you can help me with something. Is anything you can help me with? Doctor Strange, the other one, the third eye, he was like, well, you got to prove it to me. How do I know that you're really Doctor Strange? How do I know that you know me? So he expresses a story and he says, when we were young, our little sister, we was playing on the ice and my little sister fell down in the ice and she drowned in the water or something like that. The other Doctor Strange says, oh, okay. And Steven, whatever his alias name is, Doctor Strange or whatever, he's like, and we don't talk about that, huh? We don't talk about the story of how our little sister drowned in water when we were children. I'm like, bro, you telling me you know how to do all this shit with your hands and all this energy shit, all this mudras that you're doing. You telling me you know how to do all that, but you don't talk about your past of how your little sister got killed because she drowned in water? You telling me that that's so devastating that you don't even talk about that openly, but you can do all this other shit, all that, but you telling me you don't talk about that? That right there is what I'm talking about. That is right there what I'm talking about. They don't talk about that. They talk about all the shit. They got Wanda, she's coming, and Scarlet Witch, she's coming to destroy everything, and she can dream walk and go through different galaxies, talk about all that deep shit. But y'all don't talk about the trauma of your little sister? Make it make sense, right? Batman, you know what I'm saying, looking for the murderers of his mama or his family, you know what I'm saying? Of course, and he, Joker is the guy that he's always going against. But every time I watch Batman, I'm like, Batman, bro, you are a philanthropist, you're a billionaire, and you got all this shit going on for yourself. Someone killed your family, and you still haven't just let that shit go. You became a whole superhero based off of your parents being killed. Now, if someone knows the narrative and says, oh, Joshua, that's not the right story, please correct me, because I'm not that deep into the comics like that. I'm just kind of going off what I remember as a child into currently. But that's from my understanding. That's what happened. His people got killed, and it was a trauma, and he became a superhero. You know what I'm saying? But that goes to show you that trauma created him as a superhero. He just didn't do the healing work. So he out here doing his thing, but he still didn't do the healing work. Now, the one movie that I've noticed that actually does the healing work, and people probably didn't even realize this shit. It's not really a superhero movie, but it's a fan favorite for the 90s babies, the 80s babies. Is Lion King. Go back and watch Lion King. Lion King is my mythology, and it's a very powerful mythology. It's actually tied to Egyptian mythology as well. But Lion King would be our mythology in terms of doing the healing work. To break it down a little bit further, Simba, right? He was a child. Like I said, I specialize in inner child work. He was a child and he witnessed his dad get killed. That's a trauma. The trauma resonates. The trauma transfers as, or is indicative as, an abandonment wound. He got abandoned when he was young, right? Second thing that he experienced, his uncle betrayed him. That's a betrayal wound. He has trust issues. Third thing that he experienced, humiliation. He can't go back home because he's embarrassed and he's ashamed for what happened to his dad, right? Then he experienced a loss wound. He experienced all those things in that one little, let the king live. Whatever Scarface told him and he let Mufasa off the cliff, he experienced all that in that one situation. So he went off, right? He met Timon and Pumbaa. And Timon and Pumbaa, which I look at Timon and Pumbaa as the people who you meet in your life who's all about positivity, and they kind of gloss over the fact that you need to do some fucking healing work. They're like the spiritual bypassers. They don't do no healing work. All they talk about is Kuna Matata. Please don't worry. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I love the song. I'm about to start singing. I'm not saying I don't like the song. I'm not saying I don't like the message. But what I'm saying is they still didn't do no goddamn healing work. So what happens, right? Nyla goes out there and Nyla's like, yo, what up? What you doing out here? You need to come back and claim your throne. Now pay attention to this. Simba's like, I'm not going back. This is my new home. He doesn't want to go back to the past where all the wounds are held at. But also, in order for him to claim his throne, he had to go back to the past. I.e., right? In order for us to activate, in order for us to become that version of ourselves that we don't even know exist, we have to go back to our past to release and dissolve these blockages and these traumas and these burdens and these resistance that is stored inside of us to become the king or the queen of the throne. So when you watch Simba or Lion King, it's so powerful. He basically went back to his childhood because he became an adult, right? When he was out there with Timon and Pumbaa. He went back and healed that version of himself. And then he discovered the truth of what really happened. So this is what happens when we deal with trauma. We have a misinterpretation what trauma is. So when we're children, we don't have the same mindset that adults have. So when we experience something, we interpret it based off of our childlike perception. So say, for instance, you experience an abandonment wound. The first thing that your childlike perception is going to think and carry for the rest of your life is that my mom or my dad did not love me. That's your immediate interpretation. When you go back and you actually have a conversation, or you're able to connect with your family or whoever can give you the real story, they'll tell you, oh no, that's not what happened. Your mother and your father really did love you. The only reason why they let you go and went and, you stayed with someone in a foster family or what have you is because they didn't have the financial means. But now they're millionaires and they're trying to get you back. So you could say they abandoned you due to the lack of financial means, but they wanted to keep you, but they couldn't keep you because they could not support you financially. And so they felt like you would have probably been better off in a foster care. That's the truth. So when Simba went back, right? When Simba went back and faced his fears, faced his past, when he was fighting Scarface, Scarface told him in the fight, I'm the one who killed your father. That's when Simba was like, what? Right? So he's on a cliff, pushed him off the cliff. Murderer! You killed Mufasa. The whole, what? What you mean he killed Mufasa? You killed my dad. It's called enlightenment. It's called a breakthrough. It's called a reframing of your trauma. So when you go back to the past, you reframe this energy that you've been holding for so long. And guess what? This is a tip. If you can reframe it, you can release it. That's why it's so important to go back to your past. So that whole mythology, Lion King, is so fucking powerful. If you look at it from your perspective and then compare it to the movie's perspective, that is what we're doing on a consistent basis. Now, everyone has their own mythology. Like I said, I resonate with that mythology because I know that I come from royalty. I know I sit on a throne, but before I can fully claim that throne, I had to do the healing work. And that's just me personally. I don't expect everybody to do the healing work. I don't expect everybody to resonate with this message. But for people who want to carry that badge of honor, carry that badge of courage, it's funny that the lion, this Lion King, it's funny that they chose the lion as the primary animal in this whole movie. The lion deals with courage. It deals with bravery. You have to have a little bit of bravery. You have to have a little bit of courage to face your darkness, to face that part of yourself that you chose to let go of, to face your shadow. You got to have that, right? So we all experience something to some degree or another. But at the end of the day, we're still living out this Lion King journey, this hero's journey where you become the hero in healing yourself. Simba became the hero because he went back and he did what he was supposed to do and claimed the throne, and he became the hero. He defeated Scarface. Or in other words, you could say he defeated or integrated his shadow, that part of himself that he was afraid to face and to embrace. He faced it and it transmuted. In this case, of course, it's a movie, so Scarface, he got eaten up by the hyenas or what have you, and, what have you. But you get what I'm trying to say. When you face that part of yourself, you are able to transmute and become whole. So Simba was incomplete when he was with Timon and Pumbaa. When he was in that whole other paradise, he was incomplete. That wasn't his real world. That's why Nyla was like, what you doing? You the whole king. Why are you out here? He's incomplete. He's running away. He doesn't want to deal with it. So when he dealt with it, he became whole. He became holistic. He became fulfilled. His soul became integrated. He retrieved that version of himself. So I'm going to leave off on that note because I think you guys got the picture. Yeah, because I don't have nothing else in my notes. So yeah, man. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I look at all my comments, everything that you guys post. I'm always looking to comment and support and share anything I can to help you guys. And like I said, if you're looking to do some type of healing work, please reach out because I would love to support you on your healing journey. And yeah, you know what? And look, let's just do this, right? For people who, because this is a long video, for people who have stood with me throughout this whole entire process, please leave an emoji. Once you leave me some fire flames or something like that, let me know that you guys have listened to this whole entire narrative, this whole entire story. And like I said, I hope that it's helping you guys on your journey. I got more to come. And let's get this shit popping. Let's get this shit popping.